Oppenheimer was directed and written by Christopher Nolan, and it stars Cillian Murphy as the title character of Julius Robert Oppenheimer. And this movie is based on a true story and based on true events about Julius Robert Oppenheimer, who's an American scientist, and he's known for as the father of the atomic bomb. And now we got our movie. And I've been hearing a lot of things about the film, but also ever since I watched the trailers for this movie, I was extremely confused, extremely lost. I'm like, what's this movie even about? I don't know. But after watching the trailers, I was still confused. But after I heard Christopher Nolan's name is in this, and I was like, oh, okay, Christopher Nolan's directing this movie. I think Warner Brothers couldn't be able to like. I think with Warner Brothers, they probably couldn't be able to take this movie right now, so they passed it over to Universal, and Universal actually got this movie. So I'm glad they were able to take this movie. So with this film in particular, I've been hearing positive buzz about the movie. I've been hearing like critics, audiences, the movie fans, moviegoers, been talking a lot of good things about this film, of how great this movie was. And I said, okay, I'm gonna watch it. But with me, after I watched it, I love Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, in my opinion, is one of the best movies. Now, we know Christopher Nolan has directed movies in the past. He directed the Dark Knight trilogy. He did Tenet. He did Inception. I think he did Interstellar and some other films that he did. I'm going to say Tenet, in my opinion. And Tenet was okay. I mean, I did rewatch Tenet, and I was like, I was all right. But I think Oppenheimer might be better. I enjoyed the Dark Knight movies. I grew attached to Christopher Nolan's Batman movies in the past as a kid. I grew attached to those movies, which was my first time experiencing Christopher Nolan as a director. He directed the Batman movies in the past. And I fell in love with the Batman films that he directed. And I love those movies. And Interstellar, I tried to watch Interstellar, but I couldn't really get into it a little bit. I tried. Inception, I tried, but I still gotta watch Inception. And then, what else? And Tenet, I rewatched Tenet, and I thought it was okay and good all at once for me. But when I was watching Oppenheimer, I said Oppenheimer is easily one of my favorite movies from Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan did an awesome job, doing a really good job directing this movie. Not only direct this movie, but also put some IMAX features into this film. So I think that's all I could say for that. So I think that's it. So let's talk about the actors and the characters themselves. Starting off with is Cillian Murphy as the title character of Julius Robert Oppenheimer. So this is the guy who's the father of the atomic bomb, and of how he came up with these ideas. He said he keeps imagining things. He keeps imagining these, I think these stars and these explosions or something like that. And I heard some of the explosion scenes were actually made of CGI or probably like real explosions or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that actually got me so confused as well. But to me, I think that's actually pretty cool cinematography. But the things that he imagines in his head, that of how he came up with this idea of how he created this one of the most dangerous weapons in the world. These atomic bombs are one of the most dangerous weapons in human history that we have for a very long time. And Julius Robert Oppenheimer wanted to mostly create his own. He wanted to create his own weapon. He wanted to create his own atomic bomb, and he came up with ideas for it. People in the movie actually. People liked him. People started supporting his works. They started supporting what he's been doing. We do learn about his history. We do learn about some of the characters that he has actually met, or a character that met him. And that's what I really liked about Oppenheimer in this movie. Cillian Murphy is a perfect choice, in my opinion. Cillian Murphy, I think, in my opinion, he's one of the best casting choices for Oppenheimer. And I think this guy deserves to get an Oscar for Best Lead Actor. And the last time we saw him as a main character was 28 Days Later. That movie that came out in like 2007, 2008. I can't remember, but I'm glad he did a pretty good job in this movie. Get him an Oscar. And I think that's it for Cillian Murphy. And next up is Matt Damon as Colonel, General, whatever he is. I think he's Colonel. Yeah, Colonel Groves. We do see a little bit of his. We do see him a little bit more in the film. I mean, I think he's in the movie a lot. And I think, in my opinion, he's not getting that much screen time like I was expecting him to. But in this movie, I think I heard he plays one of the most grumpy. He plays a grumpy sergeant in the film, and I'm like, yeah, I think he does play a grumpy sergeant in this movie. And Matt Damon is really good in this movie, of how his character met Oppenheimer, and he tells and Oppenheimer tells him about these ideas that he came up with to create one of the most dangerous weapons in the world. And that's all I can say for Matt Damon. And because of Matt Damon's character, he has known Oppenheimer for a very long time. So with Matt Damon is really good in this movie as Colonel Groves, and that's all I can say for him. And next up is Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, y'all may know him as Tony Stark and Iron Man from the MCU, and now he's Mr. Strauss. I didn't know he was going to be in this movie, and I'm like, that's Robert Downey Jr., right? I didn't know, to be honest. I didn't know Robert Downey Jr. was going to be in the film. I didn't know, and I didn't know he was going to be in the trailers, because I kind of lost track of the trailers a little bit. But Robert Downey Jr. is really good in this movie as Mr. Strauss. We do see a showing and explanation of how he met Oppenheimer way back. And we do, and there are a couple of moments we do see more of him throughout the film. But in this movie, Mr. Strauss is in a couple of moments that he's in like in a black and white screen. You know those black and white screens that we had on our TVs, that we had on the box TVs way back in the 1950s, 1960s. But in this movie, they actually filled they filled in with black and white screenings with IMAX cameras, which I really liked. That was actually pretty cool. And yeah, he is in a couple of like moments where he's in like straight color sequences, like color screen sequences, but also he's in the moments, but throughout the movie he's in like black and white screening sequences in the film. And he has known Oppenheimer for like a very long time, for like I don't remember how long, but I think he did a really good job in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. is really good in this movie, and yes, I do miss him being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Tony Stark and Iron Man. We all miss him, but I think he decided to move on and do something else. But here he is. Robert Downey Jr. is really good in this movie, and that's all I can say for him. And next up is Florence Pugh. I forgot her character's name now, but Florence Pugh is really good in this movie. But she's in a couple of scenes in the movie. I mean, we do see an explanation of how her character and Oppenheimer first met. I mean, yeah, of how her and Oppenheimer first met. She was in a couple of moments in the movie, and then she was in a couple of scenes in here, some scenes there, and then gone. That's it. It didn't get that much screen time, and afterwards, not in the movie anymore. So, and that's all I can say for that. And Florence Pugh is really good in this movie. Yeah, like I said, I forgot her character's name, but I ain't gonna worry about it. But I guess that's it for Florence Pugh. And last but not least is Emily Blunt as Kitty Oppenheimer, and I'm not kidding, her name is actually Kitty in the movie. Which, I'm like, her name's Kitty? I didn't know that. Or Kitty, I don't know. But they said her name is Kitty. Kitty Oppenheimer. Now, Kitty Oppenheimer in this movie, she plays she plays Julius Robert Oppenheimer's wife in the movie. And all I can say is she plays the wife in the movie. They didn't really touch much on her in the trailer. I guess because they wanted to save the rest of her character in the movie. So I'm like, yes, I get it. So I guess that's understandable. And I'm glad I was really appreciated that they show of how her and Robert first met in this movie, and they got married, and then they became wife and husband, and that's all I can say. Emily Blunt is really good in this movie as Kitty Oppenheimer, and that's all I can say for her. And that's it for the actors and the characters themselves. And I do want to talk about how great this film was shot with IMAX cameras. The IMAX sequences, like with some cinematography shots in the movie, is clear. What else I really like about the movie, the film doesn't feel rushed. It does feel some fast-paced, some slow-paced, or maybe it takes its time. And I think it has like both fast-paced and slow-paced all at once. It takes its time of telling the story for Oppenheimer. Even though this movie is 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel rushed. I mean, with Avatar: The Way of Water, I've been hearing some people say that movie felt rushed. This film does not feel rushed for a 3-hour long film. For this 3-hour long movie, it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't go to edit to another scene. No, it takes its time with its story to tell you, and you can pretty much tell exactly what on earth is going on throughout the movie. And we do get, and then also what's really interesting, we do get a couple of actor cameos here and there. We know, I was like, oh, I know this actor, I know this actor, I know this actor, I know this actress, I know this actress. I didn't know he or she was going to be in this movie, and that was unexpected for me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know this person was going to be in the movie whatsoever. But there were a couple of actors and characters else in the movie, because this is a large cast of actors and characters in this movie. They were all fantastic in the movie and felt more serious. And this movie has not one single funny moment in the movie, which I really appreciate, because this movie takes itself a lot more serious. This movie feels like a lot more, like a more of a serious film. It's because it has no funny sequences. Has no funny sequences. The movie does take itself a lot more serious. Christopher Nolan was able to, I guess with Christopher Nolan, he was like, no, I just want to take this movie very seriously. I guess that's why he didn't want to add any, not one single funny moment, which I'm fine with anyway. So I'm glad this movie is being more of a serious type movie. And then what's really interesting also is that we do get some really cool cinematography shots of Oppenheimer's imagination. I heard that Christopher Nolan said that I think this scene is CG tech or not CGI. I'm talking about the explosion scenes. I'm like, I feel like this scene is more CGI. But no, it does feel real, like real cinematography. With real cinematography, I feel like some of the explosion scenes feel more real. So I think some of the explosion scenes and some of his imagination scenes were CGI. I don't know, but I got a little confused and a little bit mixed up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little confused about that. But no, I feel like some of the explosion scenes, I think most of the explosion moments of the imagination sequences of Oppenheimer's imagination feels real in the movie. And there were a couple of times where Christopher Nolan was able to shot with real camera work, with no CGI, and I think I was fine with it. I was cool with it. In fact, I was cool with it anyway. And I was like, yep, now that's cool cinematography right there. The cinematography in this movie is fantastic. I love the cinematography. I love all the dialogue. The dialogue, from what I heard, is pretty heavy. There's some dialogue. There's another dialogue. There's another dialogue. There's another dialogue. And all the dialogues is everywhere throughout this movie. All the dialogues are heavy lifted with, my God, all the dialogue in this movie. I love all the dialogue in this movie. It feels awesome. But all I can say is I cannot wait for more Christopher Nolan. I'm looking forward to see what Christopher Nolan does next for his next movie. See what's the next project, what's the next movie for. But I guess that's it for my review for Oppenheimer. And with this new Oppenheimer movie, I gotta say, this is one of my favorite movies of all times. And I'm glad we were able to discover the history of Julius Robert Oppenheimer in this movie. And Cillian Murphy, like I said, get Cillian Murphy an Oscar. Get this guy an Oscar. So I'm really looking forward to see what Christopher Nolan does next for his future projects. So I guess that's it for this review for Oppenheimer, and I'm hoping you guys are able to go see it. Some people saw it, some people didn't see it, but if you didn't see it, go watch it. It's really, really good. I think that's it for this review for Oppenheimer, and there's nothing much else to say. So be sure to like, subscribe, press notification bell, follow me on Instagram, comment down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.